Tell us your story. How did you get to this point where you're now at a med tech conference from being a stuntman?
As a stuntman, I started with the horses, then with the riders, then with the doctors. And so a lot of my work is in the animal world. Dr. Bradley, he brought me my first horse. He said, it's the right front shoulder. Something's off on this horse with the right front shoulder. All I knew was, where do you hurt? Put your finger on it. And so at the end of about an hour and a half, the biofeedback told me I had clear conductivity and that I had probably removed the majority of the inflammation. So the veterinarian came by and I said, hey, Bob, trot this horse out, see what you think. He trots the horse out. He said, right front shoulder looks great. I've never seen him so lame in the hind rear, left. He said, this horse is dead ass lame. What'd you do? I went, don't know. So I went to the hind left and I treated around the hind left for about another hour and a half. He comes back, he trots him out and he says, well, the hind left's good. Now the left front is off. Look at how lame he is. Look at him bobbing on that left front. Okay, so I did the left front. Since hind right, I've treated all four corners of this horse. Sun's going down. I spent 8 hours on this horse. I'm going, Bob, come trot this horse out and tell me what you think. He trots him down the lane. He trots him back. He says, great job. Here's your $50. So I go 8+ hours and I made $50. But they did say something about acupuncture points. I wonder if there's acupuncture points for horses. So that night, I went to the library and I sat there looking and found all these different charts of acupuncture points for horses, for dogs.
No way.
So with those points, I said, oh, if you treat down through the spine, that has to do with the kidney, the liver, the lung, all four legs. I wonder what would happen if I just treat this horse's spine. Kind of the background for chiropractic. The next day I show up with my equipment. I said, Bob, I'm gonna treat his back. He said, there's nothing wrong with his back. Look at it, it's the right front. Still, look at how he's bobbing on that right front. I said, well, let me do his spine. We'll see what happens. So I spent about 45 minutes to an hour going down bilateral spinal, treating every vertebrae on that horse's spine, all the way from his neck to his hind end. Bob comes back. I said, hey, Bob, trot this horse out now. So he takes the horse, he trots him down the lane. Comes back, he's got a funny look on his face, gets out his whip, gets out a lunge line, takes him out in the paddock area, takes him around to the right, takes him around to the left, and he looks at me and he says, he's sound. I said, next horse. So then in between each horse, I'd slap the plates on my knee, wrap it with an ace bandage. The jockeys would say, I see you take those plates from the horse's ass and put them on your knee. Oh, you have an ugly knee. He said, what would it do for my neck? I cannot turn my neck. I see guys coming up, I can't turn it around. I've had this for about 3 months. I said, well, I'm not really supposed to treat people because I'm really only here to treat the horses, but I'm not a doctor. But come on in here into the stall. So I treated his neck. So he obviously says, my God, I can turn my neck. How long will it last? I said, I don't know. 20 minutes, 20 hours, as long as these, what are now known as voltage sensitive ion channels, as long as that area remains in perfect electro homeostasis. Could be 20 minutes, 20 days, 20, I don't know. So he comes back about 2 hours later, he says, I have not won a race in 3 months. I could not turn my, look at me. You miracle man, miracle machine. So now people started showing up.
Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Sinatra, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about hearts, but a lot about horses. What I've been doing for the last, 7 or 8 years, is bringing metabolic cardiology, one of the greatest discoveries I've ever made in my lifetime, to the equine. You put like a billionth of an amp of, let's say, electricity into the body. What you're doing is you're not only detoxifying the body, but you're literally delivering more ATP to the cells. And when I also saw the effect that the Equiscope had on my son, I wanted to bring the Equiscope to the table for helping the equine, and particularly the thoroughbred. And now I'm going to enhance that with electroceutical support, where I'm going to drive ATP in a preferential direction. And the first horse that I did my experiments on was a horse by the name of Elusive Charlie.
So we took Elusive Charlie with his head stretched out and his tongue hanging out, put 2 big plates on his neck on both sides, put one on his pole and one on his hind end, turned the equipment on, treated him for a day. His head came up, sucked his tongue back in, retreated him 2 days in a row, till finally he was now holding his head up high. We let him out of the pasture, and he went bucking and kicking and running around the pasture. Everybody had tears in their eyes and going, "Oh my God, you saved his life. Look at him." And that horse, Elusive Charlie, had a baby called Admiral's War Chest. And that baby went out to win the biggest race in Maryland history called the Jim McKay Maryland Million, and Admiral's War Chest at 5 years old wins the race.
The Admiral's War Chest taking the field wire to wire last year and in this year's Maryland Million Classic.
Had I not fixed his father, we would have never had the biggest race for Dr. Sinatra, who's a huge horseman. And here's his little baby from Elusive Charlie, wins the biggest race for Maryland horse breeders. Then this guy, Doug O.Neill, bought this horse for $35,000. He's got blazing speed, he's got a big heart, but he's crippled after he runs. I trained the trainer's son. He spent 30 days with this horse. We came out at our first race, we were 43-1. We crushed the field by 6 lengths.
I'll have another coming home to win it easy.
So then, the next race, we went from 43-1 to 4-1.
And I'll have another is out to prove that his 43-1 upset victory in his last start was no fluke.
Now, if we got first or second with that horse, that would qualify us for the Kentucky Derby. Now, we went from 43-1, and as NBC said, now whether this was a fluke or not, this horse, I'll have another, who went off at 43-1, he's 4-1 today. I kept the same bet on the horse, kept my same socks on, my lucky socks.
I'll have another's in front. Creative calls, they hit it together. I'll have another. And Mario Gutierrez have won the Santa Anita Derby.
And we win by a nose. Now we're off to the Kentucky Derby, the biggest race, the biggest 2 minutes in sports history, the Kentucky Derby. Now we're 15-1 at the Kentucky Derby, so we're 19 gates out. There's never been a horse that's won a Kentucky Derby from 19 off the rail. We had a little young jockey that got along well with the horse's name was I'll Have Another. But him and I'll Have Another had a relationship. And so by the first turn, breaking from the 19th gate, Mario had him 3 horses off the rail. As he came around, collecting him up, and our big competition was Bob Baffert, the #1 trainer, and his horse, Bodemeister, named after his son, a magnificent looking horse. And as we come around the stretch, here comes our little horse with that big heart running down Bodemeister, who was so far out in the lead. And as he ran him down, and we won the Kentucky Derby. Now, after winning the Kentucky Derby is when I went back to the manufacturer, because he wanted me, he said, listen, you got to buy 100 machines. So we win the Kentucky Derby, and now we have the Equiscope. We have a worldwide exclusive rights to a device that knows whether you're a pigeon or an elephant as soon as you excite that tissue. You know, there's no placebo in a racehorse. You take a 6-year-old horse that nobody heard about out of Europe. It's in the Post. He comes back to generate $1 million in 5 races, all in 2018. In 2018, I went to the racetrack 10 times. I was in the winner's circle 10 times. Unheard of. I proved my point. 2018, you want to see the winner's circle pictures? Be glad to show them all to you. Here's my daughter with me in the winner's circle. Here's the doctors from Sonnevive in the winner's circle. Here's, you know, each day I'd say, hey, I got a horse run. Join us in the winner's circle with these horses that we've done. Dubai, back-to-back winnings with Christophe Semillian. Christophe Semillian, $10 million races back-to-back with Thunder Snow. Never been done before. Actually, Christophe bought the equipment. And I want these devices in every medical center, in every hospital room. We're in every walk of medicine, from the neurosurgeon to the veterinarian. Pay me to keep you well. Pay little or nothing to come if you're sick, because we didn't do the job.
Yeah.
So we can train anybody in 3 days. We hold quarterly trainings. 3 days. You can go home with a brand new job opportunity. We'll help align you with a doctor, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, because this is a technician field. It's a brand new walk of medicine as a certified electrotoxicologist. This is God's plan, not my plan. I never planned to be sitting in this chair and talking about it.